We are officially live, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Pansy.
Good morning, Justin. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, or viewer out there. How are you doing? Welcome to the show. I'm Justin. This is Pansy. This is Friends with Benefits podcast. We're doing this a little bit earlier than we normally do today because we have a very special guest. We'll introduce him here in just a minute. But this is one of those things, you gotta adjust, you gotta make adjustments to accommodate, and I mean, who knows, maybe we'll starting the show at this time on a regular basis. I kind of like actually starting it a little bit earlier. That's just my thoughts, but
Yeah, no, it's not bad. I mean, why
yeah,
not? If you can do it, you know.
if you can do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, see, and I don't know how many of you know, I think anybody probably who knows me knows this, but I have a 9 to 5 still. And it makes it challenging. You're trying to do entrepreneurship and working a 9 to 5 and trying to find that right point to jump off from the 9 to 5 and go full head first into the entrepreneurship journey. And I'm still looking for that opportunity. And it's one of those scary decisions you have to make. Eventually you have to make it. I was just talking to Pansy about this. You eventually have to make that decision. And I'm counting the days. I've got a date in mind for myself, so I've set a time frame for myself. But I'm
Are
looking.
you gonna say it? Like, I think you should say it. I think that kind of sets
Giving
it in
myself.
stone.
I'm giving myself 1 year. So by this time next year, I need to be away from my 9 to 5 and in fully on the entrepreneurship.
I
That's
think that's doable, Justin.
yeah,
I think that's something both of us, right?
yeah,
Because I'm also, dependent right now on driving for Uber, right?
yep,
And I don't necessarily want to be dependent on that.
right.
So I think that's reasonable. Let's give ourselves 1 year
Mhm.
and for both of us to not be doing our current jobs.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? We're at August 15th, 2025. By this time next year, full head first into entrepreneurship, into the business.
Like,
Um,
we'll have the properties supporting us and
we
our,
will,
yeah.
100%. So, with all that, I really want to bring up our guest. I'm super excited to invite him in, and I'm super grateful for him being here. But this is a person who, for those of you who don't know him, this is a person who started his entrepreneurial and investment journey up in Alaska. So for those of us, like, I'm in California right now, and
I'm
being
in
in
Illinois.
and Pansy's in Illinois, he's in Alaska. Okay,
Yeah.
so for those of you who are complaining about, like, hey, I'm in some random place, I don't know if I can do this. He did it from Alaska. Okay, so I don't want to hear it.
Right.
And by the way,
And he got himself out of his career, right?
that's right. That's right. And
So
we'll
we're
get
gonna
into
let
that.
him talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that too. So
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that. But he's a father, husband, a successful real estate investor. He's got
friend.
a friend, absolutely, yes, a friend, and he's got his own mentorship. And we'll get into all this, but I'm super excited to bring him up. Jesse Stanton, how are you, my friend?
Hey,
Yo,
Jesse.
what's going on, guys? Good morning. How are you both? It's so
Great.
wonderful to see you guys.
It's wonderful
Thank
to
you
see you.
both so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm so excited. I was just raving about your guys' podcast name, Friends with Benefits. Freaking love that. Genius. Genius. And you guys got the backdrop to match, man. I love it.
Hey, I had a question. I heard that you were considering that name at one point. Is
He did.
that
He did.
true?
He did, yeah. No, it was my name. I started a Zoom inside of SubTo that I wanted to approach from a perspective of helping people understand what their natural gifts, talents, and abilities are, and then understanding how to leverage those within the community for everybody to be able to benefit from. And I'm
Love it.
like, man, we're in a community right now where we're all friends. Why are we not intentionally benefiting
I
from
love it.
those relationships? I mean, how awesome would it be to be able to come into a community and say, here's how I like to think about it. There's a lot of people that overcomplicate this, and mainly I'm talking to the old version of me because that's what I did. That's what I do.
Mhm.
is, I tend to overcomplicate things. So my wife sent me to the grocery store one time. Not one time. Look at me sitting over here acting like I only get a honey-do list every once in a while. She sent me a honey-do list, and I went to Walmart,
Mhm.
and she is so specific on her Walmart list. And she doesn't just say, hey, get a thing of cheese, get, I don't know, this, just get a gallon of milk. Like, she is so specific in what she wants. It's not just cheese. It's get the Tillamook cheese, the sharp cheddar Tillamook cheese that comes in slices. You got 8-pack. It sits right next to the other cheeses. And I thought to myself as I'm going through this list one time, I'm like, how amazing would it be if we approached business and relationships from the same perspective? Imagine if we just had enough clarity on who I am, what my gift is, and what I'm good at, that I could then just walk into a grocery store, say Walmart as an example, and say, hey, I need one each integrator with these skills. I don't know what's going on with my camera. Is it freezing for you guys too?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
That's all right. Just
That's
Hey,
keep going,
Alaska.
right?
That's Alaska for you.
Hey,
Well, we still
fellas,
have your voice, so
See if
just
I
keep
can-
going, Jesse. It'll fix
I
itself.
was gonna say, look,
See
as
if I
long
can
as we
mess
got
with
the
this.
audio, we got good audio, so that's what matters.
Yeah.
Good. I'll see if we can mess with this, if we can figure something out. But anyway, so I thought, how awesome would it be to just be able to approach a business from the same standpoint? Like, hey, I need one each acquisitions person. I need one each underwriter. And you almost approach it as if like you have your own honey-do list of like, hey, these are the strategic partnerships that I need.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I should bring that to Pace and see if we can start a Zoom inside of SubTo. And because I'm the tongue-in-cheek kind of person that I am, we'll call it friends with benefits. And it was funny because the first handful of Zooms, people were jumping in and they had no idea what it was about.
They're like,
So
what
then
is
I
it?
always made the joke of like, hey, why do you think you're here? What are you hoping to get out of today's Zoom? No, it was always funny. It was always a good.
Yeah, Jesse, I think I was on the Zoom because you were talking about it in your Facebook group and the Zooms you do through there. And I was part of that when you were coming up with the name and everything. And I thought it was a good idea because I'm the same way. I'm like, I like to kind of, I guess, shock people, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, and because when we were coming up and I knew you had stopped doing yours, and I told Justin, I'm like, I really liked that name when Jesse came up with it, like when we were talking about it on the Zoom and everything. And I liked the shock value because he was like, oh, I don't know. Like, at first.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, maybe.
I don't want to give people the wrong idea, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It grew on me though. And by the way, I'm gonna steal that. Like, why do you think you're here?
yeah.
What do you think this
What
is?
are you looking for?
Yeah. What are you looking for? Okay, well, real quick, Jesse, let me for those who don't know you,
Mhm.
I would love to, because I love your story. I think it's a great story. Why don't we start off with, okay, so you, by the way, folks, Jesse's former military. So why don't we start there? Former military, and you're trying to figure out your way into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, dude. I did 15 years in the Air Force. And I mean, my gosh, talk about mindset challenges, talk about obstacles. Talked a little bit about this yesterday on a Zoom that I did. Dude, we were talking before we turned the camera on, like entrepreneurship is just one of those things where you can go from feeling like $1 million
Mm-hmm.
and then a couple hours later you're like, oh my gosh, like what the hell just happened? I went from being on this all-time high, now I'm circling in the 7th circle of hell. You know what I mean? It's like, what just happened? And that's entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And my first year in real estate, man, was wild. I was working 40 plus hours a week in the military. And then the short skinny of it, I ended up working, about 40 hours a week on my business.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working, I started getting up at, long story short, I started getting up at 3 a.m., started working from 3 a.m. till I had to be to work at 7 a.m.
Yep.
So I get 4 hours in before I had to be to work. And then I'd work 8 hours that day. And then I would come home and I had an hour drive home. I'd get home at 5 p.m., which is for those you that don't know, it's 9 p.m. on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm even walking through the door, it's 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And of course, I drew the short straw with the partnership that I was in. Like, of course, we had to go work the Florida market. So that was our market. And so I had to figure out, how do I, before I started waking up at 3 a.m., I was like, man, I've got 2 years left on my contract. And the military, when your contract's up, you either get out or you renew for another 4 to 6 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so it's not like a regular W-2 when it's like, okay, my business is up and running now. Now's a good time to jump ship.
Yeah, right. Like, it
put my
never
2
works
weeks in.
that way. Like, it ever works that way, right?
Yeah. You're right. You're right. As if it does. Yeah, you're right. And so I thought, I'm like, man, I've got about 18 months left on my contract. I've got to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first couple months, man, it was extremely hard. There was nobody up here doing what I wanted to be doing. So I didn't have any kind of a community up here. There wasn't anybody I could sit down and go grab a cup of coffee with, or go get lunch with, or anything like that. And when you're kind of just left in a place like Alaska and you're so isolated, what do, dude? You scroll on social media, you got this new thing, you're looking to see what everybody else is doing. Has anybody ever hopped on social media and just as you're scrolling, you're like, why is everybody else more successful than me? Why does everybody else have deals going on that I don't? Yeah. Why does everyone else have their shit together and I'm still over here trying to figure it out?
Yeah, 100%. We do that a lot, right? We compare ourselves, which is probably the exact opposite. Not probably, it's the exact opposite of what you should be doing, right? You shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people. You should be comparing yourself to yourself, who you were the day before versus who you are today, right? That's
I don't know if I had so many like whys, but what, like, how, what are they doing? How, like, they're obviously doing something different than what I'm doing. So what is it, right? Like that's probably more my question, not why, because I think I know why. They're actually doing something that I'm not doing. But what is it that they're doing?
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So not so much why.
Would you say the military in any way prepared you for entrepreneurship in any capacity? Or was it just
100%?
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It taught me how to be resilient. It taught me how to here's one that's so simple that I think most people would overlook. How many times, Justin, you or Pansy, have you got, and I've been told this a lot of times, how many times have you guys ever been shared like a golden nugget from somebody ahead of you? And it was like a really key thing.
Yeah.
That could have made a big difference. And you heard it, but you didn't do it immediately, or you didn't implement it immediately.
Right.
Or maybe even at all. There's a
Multiple.
lot of entrepreneurs that struggle with the same thing. So even something just so as minuscule as that. When I first got started, I remember Pace saying he didn't have like the Avatar series or anything created when I first joined SubTo. I joined SubTo right when Pace first started it.
Yeah.
And so none of that stuff existed. And so the categories that people were kind of divvying themselves between is you're either a visionary, you're an integrator. And there's this book called Rocket Fuel. And that was kind of being pushed into the group a lot. It's like, hey, you're either an integrator or you're a visionary. And this book will kind of outline your guys' roles and responsibilities and how you guys complement each other.
Great book.
And dude, phenomenal book.
Yeah.
And Pace told me, he said, Jesse, he said, when there's a bottleneck in your business, he said, the question isn't, how do I learn this thing so I can do it? The question is, who is already doing it? Who already knows how to do this thing? And who do you just need to bring into your business? So that whole who, not how concept was ingrained in my mind from the get-go. And me being military for so long, when somebody tells you to do something, do you sit on it? Do you question it? Do you get around to it whenever you feel like it? No. Someone tells you to do something and you don't need to know the entire reason. You don't need to know why. You don't even need to know what the hell the end mission is. Somebody tells you to go do something and you do it. You don't question, you don't complain, you don't immediately. And so there was little things like that that were just so ingrained to who my identity was because I was in the military. Pace says, Jesse, don't do this thing. And I'm like, Roger that. And so I never, from the get-go, I never battled this whole thing of me trying to figure it out or do it all on my own.
Right.
Ever from the get-go. I never struggled with that.
That's interesting because I have, and Pansy's seen it firsthand. I am one of these people, and it's I'm still working on this, but like it's like I have to understand the thing, and part of it is my sort of engineering background, my engineering mindset. It's like,
Sure.
oh, I've got to go in and learn the thing, right? And man, that has cost me so much time. And
Mm.
it's been a hard lesson, but I'm finally at the point now where it's like if I need or don't understand something, it's time to go find the person that does, right? It's
Mhm.
I'm
time.
kind of the opposite. Like
Yeah.
I
Pansy's definitely the opposite. Yeah.
came to the
Yeah.
to the real estate community um looking for the who. Like
Mhm.
it, because I was helping people in other ways and doing things, and I knew that me myself, I could not do it all. I did not know it all. I needed more people that did know those things that I didn't know and were already doing the things.
Mm.
So I came in looking for the who in the first place. So I'm a little opposite than you guys, you know.
Mhm.
So
What would you say? So I started off kind of in that vein. I spent a lot of my first year just learning kind of the subject matter and meeting a lot of people and networking.
Sure.
And I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself, at least in the first 8 to 9 months of like, hey, go get a deal, go get a deal, go get a deal. I mean, that was always sort of there in the back of
Mhm.
my mind. But I didn't put all that pressure on myself. But then as time went on, I started to increase that pressure on myself. And again, I spent a lot of time that I shouldn't have been spending trying to learn all of the things. And instead I should have, it's a hard learned lesson, right? And,
Sure.
and,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of time wasted, but the good news is, you know, most of us are going to go through that, right? Some more than others.
it's
Mhm.
not wasted though. It's
Right.
really not wasted,
That's exactly
you
right. So
know.
when I look back on it now, I'm like, I'm actually glad I went through a lot of that. I'm actually glad I went through a lot of that. So Jesse, you got in, right? So you joined SubTo. You're working in the military. You're trying to figure out your
Mhm.
way through this thing. And
Yeah.
like many people, where did you start? Wholesaling?
Yep.
Yeah. And why? So this is what I love about Jesse's message, and we'll get into this in a minute. But you started in wholesaling, and why did you start in wholesaling? What possessed you to start in wholesaling?
Because that's where everybody told me I had to start.
Right. Right.
That's where we started too, because that's where, you know, we jumped in, and that's what you got a wholesale and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
it, yeah, it wasn't attractive though.
The
Right.
message was, Jesse, you don't know anybody. You don't know anything. You have zero resources. You have no money. Start out wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you
Because
look around, that's literally what everybody else is doing. And that's the same message that everybody else is spreading.
Yeah.
So you think, okay, this is what everybody else is doing. And you just assume
yeah.
that everybody else knows more than you and that everybody else is ahead of you. So you're like, okay, well, I don't have the self-confidence in me yet.
Yeah.
So let me just follow the crowd.
Yeah. And it's like and of course like that box, the wholesaling box is perfect for everybody, right? That's like the perfect box that everybody just fits into.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but we know now and you got to go through it and I'll play the devil's advocate a little bit here.
Hmm.
There is some truth to the idea that yeah, you don't know anything, you don't have any money, all those things are true, right? So
Hmm.
that's why it's like you when you get told these things, it makes a lot of sense. You're
Yeah.
looking around like, oh, that actually makes, yeah, I want today money. I need today money if I'm going to go start buying real estate. And then you hear things like, oh, you need to have at least $30,000, $40,000 in the bank before you can even start think about, owning assets.
Right.
Um, and so it all makes sense. And the part of it that's the devil's advocate part of it is like you do, it's like wholesaling and acquiring assets, those things are kind of one and the same in some sense because you're learning how to find the deals. You are learning that process of finding deals. So what's so wrong with that, Jesse? Why is it so wrong for me to learn about finding deals and learning how to wholesale?
I don't know that it's necessarily wrong. It's here's a good example. When I was 10 years old, I was playing over at my grandma's house. I remember I was in third grade.
Mhm.
And I was playing in my grandma's house. My grandma had this basement that we would always kind of play in, and she had this storage room under the stairs.
Mhm.
And we'd go just it was kind of a scary place. I don't know why my grandma had like mannequins and stuff, like creepy things just like hanging out there. And so we were exploring in there one day, just trying to creep ourselves out. And then I came across something I'd never seen before.
Mhm.
And I asked my grandma, I said, "Hey, what are these things?" And she's like, "Those are called skis." I was like, "Skis? What are skis?" She's like, "You know what? Those were actually your mom's when you were little, or when she was little."
Mhm.
And she said, you use those to go ski down a hill, a snow covered hill." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I said, "Can I go skiing?"
Mhm.
And she's like, "Yeah, talk to your mom and see if she can get you signed up."
Mhm.
And I was like, "All right, cool." So I talked to my mom. My mom enrolled me on to have skiing lessons.
Mhm.
And I started skiing for the first couple of years. Started skiing in third grade through fourth grade and into fifth grade. Now, as soon as I hit fifth grade, all my other friends had graduated from skiing. They all like
Yeah.
snowboarding was becoming the thing. Shaun White was huge. All
Mhm.
my girlfriends, like all of our girlfriends, like started snowboarding. And
Mhm.
so when you're sitting when you got a little group of friends and your girlfriend and everybody's all snowboarding and you're the only skier, you start to feel some way about it. You're like, man, I can't be seen skiing, bro. I gotta get a snowboard. And so I went to my mom in fifth grade and I said, "Mom," I said, "all my friends are snowboarding." I said, Can I get a snowboard?" And she said, "Jesse," she's like, "you need to ski for a few more years." She's like, and then she told me, she's like, become really proficient in skiing, really understand the flow of the hill, really understand how to utilize and shift your weight a little bit more, really understand the fundamentals of what it means to properly utilize the edges and all that kind of stuff. And she said, "Do that because then that's going to help you snowboard." So she sold me on it. So I was like, "Okay, all right, cool." Now, if anybody has ever been snowboarding before, you guys know damn well because I ended up growing up on that ski hill. I went skiing and snowboarding. I worked at the rental shop. I worked on the lifts. Like I did all the things growing up. And if anybody's ever been snowboarding before, you know damn well that if you just want to go snowboard, do we got to spend the first 5 years learning how to ski? Or can we just go jump on a snowboard? It takes the same amount of time, energy, and effort to become proficient at skiing as it does to become proficient at snowboarding.
Yep.
Now, are there some secondary skill sets or whatever that you'll be able to take from skiing and apply that to snowboarding?
Sure.
Of course.
Mhm.
But it's about ROI. If the result that I want to is become a proficient snowboarder, do I need to start skiing and spend the first handful of seasons skiing first? No,
No.
you don't.
No.
So it's about the result.
Mhm.
Now, is it that skiing is a bad decision and that people shouldn't start skiing? No, no, it's not. It's the wrong question.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't wholesale or that you shouldn't wholesale. It's about, do you want to snowboard? Well, then why are we not having that conversation? Let's talk about and developing a plan
Yeah.
around things you need to be cognizant of and what that skill set needs to look like so that you can have the result that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I would agree 100%. I mean, most people who start in this, and I know just about everybody I've talked to, their
Mhm.
intention was not to get into it to become a wholesaler. Like most people's intention was not to come in and become a masterful wholesaler. It was to acquire assets and build a portfolio
Yeah.
that pays you, and I don't like the word passive, but semi-passive income,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So so that's a really powerful transition to what the rest of the people, the industry, rest of the, I don't want to say industry, but the rest of the people in this community are saying, right? There's a lot of noise around wholesaling, but
Mhm.
when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Why, if I'm a Pace, or if I'm a Jamil, if I'm I'm not singling them out, everybody's doing this.
Mhm.
Um, why wouldn't I bring people in and teach them the fundamentals and have them learn the wholesaling part of it? Because now I've got a bunch of people bringing deals to me, right? So essentially, you kind of become an acquisition person for these people, for these mentorships that you're in.
Right.
And again, there's nothing wrong with that, right? You're learning a ton of stuff while you're doing that. But again, like Jesse was talking about, what's the ROI? What's your intention? Or is that what you want to be? Is that what you actually want to do? Is that the business you want to have? Because if it's not the business you want to create for yourself, then you're going to be working in somebody else's business doing it.
Mhm.
And you're going to be spending a lot of time learning a thing that isn't necessarily getting you any closer to your ultimate goal over here, right? Or the
Mm.
thing that you wanted to do initially. And so what would you say for you? What was the pivotal moment for you that led you to kind of shift your mindset in that way?
Um, I probably got a couple years into wholesaling, and then I read a lot of books. I do a lot of reading, and a lot of times I reread a lot of the books.
Mhm.
And I remember a couple years into my real estate ventures, I was reading a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mhm.
I
Read
think
it in
many
high
of us have
school.
read that book, and yeah,
Huge.
Phenomenal book.
yeah.
I got done reading it one particular day, and I'm thinking about Robert Kiyosaki and some of the examples that he gave in there, and the rich dad versus the poor dad. And
Mhm.
I was really on this Robert Kiyosaki kick for a while.
Mhm.
So I'm watching a lot of his podcasts and all that kind of stuff, a lot of his content.
Mhm.
And a consistent theme that you'll see throughout Robert Kiyosaki's messages is getting in more debt and leveraging debt and buying hard assets.
Mhm.
And I had this epiphany, and I'm like, I got into real estate because I want to be Robert Kiyosaki.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to be Grant Cardone. I want to be doing what Pace is doing.
Mhm.
But what have I done over the last 2.5 years to get me closer to that? I was like, dude, I've been flipping paper
Yeah.
and basically trading my time for money.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So literally I had this epiphany, and I told my partner at the time, I said, hey, um, we need to stop this. We need to stop what we're doing right now. And dude, he was awesome. He was all over it. He was like, done. I was like, we need to be buying properties. And
Yeah.
he's like, awesome. How do you think we should do it? I was like, well, we need to get rid of everything that we're doing for wholesaling. We probably had a couple thousand leads in our CRM at the time and stuff too.
Mhm.
And
That's a tough decision, man. That's a tough decision, right? I mean, it probably
for
was like, light bulb, but I mean, ultimately to recalibrate completely 180, essentially,
Mhm.
that's not an easy decision, I would imagine. Or maybe it was an easy decision,
I
but
don't know if it was like the military in me or just kind of my experience, but believe me, I've had my share of failures and mindset issues, and I am happy to get into all of that. But for this, it wasn't. And I
Mhm.
don't know if it was just because I had gotten to a place in my business where for 2 years, I've been working 80 hours a week. My first year in real estate, waking up at 3 a.m., going to work all day, and then working all freaking night, juggling kids, a working wife, like all these things to make $1,200 my first year.
Right.
Took me a year to get my first deal, and I made $1,200. And
Yeah.
obviously, I'm super grateful for it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like a lot of people, you go through experiences like that, and it can be frustrating, even though you're simultaneously grateful for it because you're learning something. But at some point, you're going to get fed up with the results. And whether for some people that's 5 years down the road of doing the same thing, I'm not getting the results that they want, or for me, it was 12 months. I had had enough. And so I got to a point where I got sick of tolerating.
Yeah. That's a good
Tolerating
word.
is a good word. I
That's a
got
good
sick
word.
of tolerating the actions that I was taking,
Mhm.
and the results that I was getting. And
Yeah.
so it for me, making that decision was really easy. And for a lot of people, like you said, it wouldn't be an easy decision, especially if you spent X amount of months getting to a point where you got a couple thousand leads in your CRM. But
Yeah.
just like for me, getting out of the military at 15 years, where people that are at that, when you're in the military and you hit that 10-year mark, you're a lifer. You
Yeah.
see very, very few people jumping out after 10 years, let alone obviously 15.
Yeah.
And so for me, getting out of 15, obviously a lot of people couldn't resonate with that. And they're like, what the hell are you doing? But for me, what they didn't see is, from my perspective, I was like, dude, the military built me up into a 15-year Air Force trained leader
Mhm.
to be able to delegate. I was an instructor in the military, so I was great with communication. And it built me up to this person who is capable of now taking that leap into entrepreneurship. And so similarly, that's how I looked at making that decision from wholesaling. It built me into, I was a shitty leader. I had and I say that tongue in cheek, that I mean it's not like I was a great leader or anything, but going through that wholesaling process, I would go through acquisitions people, and then people would leave me and we
Yeah.
wouldn't make money, and then we'd have a good little spurt and we'd make money, and then people would leave again, and the whole time, man, I would think, my gosh, like these guys suck.
Yeah.
What's going on? Do
Yeah.
people not want to make money? People not want to work? And I'd put the blame all on everybody else, only to come to the conclusion at some point down the road after a couple of years that, no, Jesse, you suck.
Mhm.
You suck. You're a shitty leader.
Mhm.
You weren't there for them the way that they needed you to be. You didn't lead them the way that you needed to. You didn't check in on. You didn't take care of your people, man. You're terrible.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah,
my
that's
point
a
of,
hard reality too, right? That's a harsh reality,
absolutely,
you know.
absolutely it is. So anyway, my point being is just that, just like in the Air Force, built me up to the person that I needed to be able to make that leap out.
Mhm.
Switching from wholesaling to being that buyer was kind of the same thing. I'd gained all this experience and learning about systems and processes and business and leadership and communication and delegating, and really what all is entailed in creating and iterating a business, and how to hire and where to hire and how to train them and where to find the talents and all that kind of stuff, so that when I jumped into buying, it just made that transition all
Yeah,
the
a
more
lot
seamless.
easier. Sure.
You know,
Sure. Pansy, do you have any questions for Jesse? Because I've got a million questions for Jesse.
No, I don't have any questions. I mean, me and Jesse actually, you know,
we go back.
hang
Yeah,
out
yeah,
like
yeah,
weekly.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of it, and not to dismiss any of it, because there's always something still there. No matter how many times he's discussed any of it, there's always something new there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and I appreciate him sharing, because I believe it's been very helpful for myself, in many aspects of my life, mindset wise, business, all of it. And for him to share it and now share with our friends here, I truly just appreciate it. But I don't really have many questions. So
Oh,
Justin, you go ahead.
well, I would really like, I want to kind of circle back a little bit to the Robert Kiyosaki thing, because
Mm,
it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've been reading Rich Dad Poor Dad again. Everybody
mm.
talks about, oh yeah, I started because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. My question is, when's the last time you read that book? Right?
It's been a while for
When's the
me.
Yeah.
actual last time that you read that book?
Yeah.
And if I had to ask you, what's the most important chapter in that book? I mean, there's many important chapters, but if you had to pick a chapter for yourself, what's the most important chapter for it? Most people can't do it. They don't remember it. They don't really remember it.
Right.
And that was
Right.
true for myself too, which is why I started reading it again.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So
I got
what's the most important chapter so far then?
chapter one,
Okay.
chapter one,
And why?
without a doubt in my mind. Um, because it sets the groundwork. It sets the framework of, more importantly, the chapter's title is "The Rich Don't Work for Money," right? That's the title of the chapter. But it's so much deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
What it really talks about is people mostly make their decisions out of fear and emotion.
Yeah.
They make their decisions about money from fear and emotion.
Yeah, you're
Instead
not
of
wrong,
instead
Justin,
of from passion and drive, right?
right?
Yeah.
We were just talking about this earlier, right?
Mhm,
And some personal things that I've been going through.
mhm,
And that was kind of where I was coming from with my decision
mhm,
is fear, right?
mhm.
And
Yeah, we're worried about paying the bills, right?
yeah,
And
Yeah.
that's not an irrational fear. I'm not, nobody's saying that you're wrong for feeling that,
Right.
right?
Right.
The point is that's what's governing your decision making.
Mm.
Though that fear is what's governing how you make your decisions in business and in life and in your finances, which is why, it's like the chapter talks about the rich buy assets, the poor buy liabilities that they think are assets,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is
Yep.
that was a major light bulb moment for me too. It's like, oh shit.
100%.
Yeah. What do poor people do? They go buy a house, right? Or if you're like nowadays, you're not really necessarily buying a house, but you go buy a house, you go buy a car, right? And you think, with the house especially, it's an asset. It's like, no, it's not. That thing's not paying you. I mean, other than maybe the equity that you're going to get over time, but you can't access that right away. It's mostly just taking money from you. Anyway, without going down too much of a rant, you have a on the birth to net worth stuff, right? That you have going on. You talk about teaching your kids to live without a scarcity mindset, right?
Mm.
Would you say, like, talk about that a little bit? What are some of those lessons that and experiences that that you're teaching your kids on the scarcity mindset?
Man, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Appreciate you asking that. As a father, you obviously want the best for your kids,
Mm,
and you want them to grow up and have access to skills and resources and information that you didn't have earlier on in their life so they can have a better life than you.
mm,
And I remember the first time, this was maybe 3 years ago. This happened. This was in January of 20. What year is it? Probably 22. It was maybe 20. It was either January 21 or 22. We had a really, really bad snowstorm up here in Alaska.
mm.
And it was really bad. The wind was howling. Semi trucks were getting blown over. The roof on our local grocery store was ripped off. The A&W sign was just all over the place. It was terrible, man. Had this huge power outage. And now, if you think Alaska is dark during the winter in and of itself, you should be and visit Alaska in January with no power. I mean, it's a little intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
I could
I'll
imagine.
bet. I'll bet.
Oh, it's crazy.
I'll bet.
So my wife had to work that night that we have this snowstorm. So I'm at home we had 3 kids at the time. And we're all just kind of huddled around the fireplace in the living room. And that was the only thing that was keeping us somewhat warm and keeping the house somewhat lit. And so we're kind of sitting around the living room. My daughter, who was 5 at the time. Yep, 5 at the time because she's 8 right now. So she was 5 at the time. And she was like, my kids never experienced anything like this before. Like they've never had a power outage that they remember prior to this. And so my 5-year-old daughter was like scared. And I'm calming her down and I'm holding her and I say, all right, guys, let's say family prayers before we go to bed, okay? And so me and my 3 children sit down for family prayers. And I said, all right, who wants to say it? And my 5-year-old daughter raises her hand and says she wants to say it. True story. This literally happened the way that I'm going to describe it. She starts saying her prayer and she says, man, I'm going to try not to cry. She said, Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this power outage because it gives me the chance to be brave.
Wow. How old was she?
She was 5.
Wow.
She's 8 now. She was 5.
Wow.
Amazing.
And I remember the first time, I remember just hearing that and I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm
Wow.
like, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
it's crazy. Like you think and this is like up to this point, like I had never pushed mindset or skill sets or habits or anything like that. Like this was all things that they were just seeing as a byproduct of just watching dad. You think your kids aren't really paying attention, you know what I mean?
Oh,
But
they're
my gosh,
100% paying attention. Yeah,
holy crap.
that's an amazing, like, first of all, a 5-year-old kid having that kind of
Insight. Yeah.
insight and just attention. Like, I mean, most 5-year-olds would be like, Heavenly Father, please turn the lights back on, right? Like,
Right. That's what I was praying for.
Yeah.
right? Like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Yeah. Well, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was wild. So that after that one, my son lost a tooth a couple months after that. And he comes out one morning and he's like, "Hey dad, I lost a tooth." And I was like, or he came out with $1 the next day, and he's like, "Hey dad, I lost a tooth and I got $1 from the tooth fairy." And I said, "Miles, that's amazing. What are you gonna do with that, bro? You want?" And I'm sitting here thinking, he's like, "Hey dad, let's go to the gas station. Let me get you a Butterfinger. I'll get something, get a sucker."
Mhm.
And he said, "Dad, I think he's 18 months apart from my daughter, so he's either 7 or 8."
Mhm.
And he says, "Dad, I want you to teach me how do I make more money with this."
Nice.
Love it.
And so I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "All right, now I need to intentionally be going and find." So that started down this rabbit hole of me intentionally sitting my kids down
Yeah.
and going to Barnes and Noble and finding kids books about self-development and money. And one of my business partners, Carlin, wrote a kids book because she started doing the same thing with her kids. So she wrote a kids book all around self-development and with stories and metaphors that are applicable to people that are, or
Oh,
to
you've
the
got
kids
you
that are
gotta send
between
me
that
that.
5 to 10 year range,
You gotta send me that link because I've got a couple of nieces that I'm trying to teach the not to have the scarcity mindset and to have
Mm.
a different perspective around money and business and just finances in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We'll even share the link on our
we
YouTube.
will. Yeah,
Yeah. In
Oh,
the,
love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to send that for
yeah,
sure.
I'm sure other people would like to get a hold of her book. So
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
And again, Jesse, the reason I asked the question, right, is because in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, that one chapter is all about the rich dad changing the two boys' mindsets
Hmm.
around money, around what it is, right? And their relationship to it, right? If you remember the chapter, he has them work for free.
Hmm.
Like, okay, cool. You want to learn about money? Come work for me and I'm not going to pay you anything. It's like, what? What
Yeah.
are you talking about?
You talking to
How
me?
is that going to teach me about money? What are you even talking about? Well, first he pays him like pennies, and then when he starts to complain about not getting paid enough, he then has him come back and work for nothing, which is amazing. So,
I have
so
to reread that book.
everybody needs to reread it. But this is the important meat of the whole, and that's why I say chapter 1 is the most important chapter, uh, um, because it sets that foundation. The idea is if you're working for nothing, think
Hmm.
about this for a second. Let this sink in a little bit. If you're working for nothing, it forces you to have to get creative on how to make money. If you're not making anything, now you have to start getting creative on how you're going to make money.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the big lessons. And so with regards to kids and changing their mindset, I think that chapter there is probably one of the most. Where I had my nieces listen to it. By the way, I forced them to sit in the car with me, turned it on audiobooks, and forced them to listen to the chapter with it. It's not a short chapter; it's about an hour long. It's about an hour long. But they loved it. They loved
Good.
it. So, and I didn't think they would. I was thinking they were going to either just zone out or whatever, but they listened to it and they actually really liked it. So, um, but I love the fact that you're doing that with your kids, and maybe you can speak a little bit more. Is that something that you're promoting a little bit more on your page or in your mentorship at all, the birth to net worth?
No, that was something that's not continuing on. That was something
Okay.
that was started about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and it was with another individual, and
Okay.
it was kind of short lived.
Okay.
So there isn't anything that I'm doing intentionally around that other than just
Yeah.
I'm obviously integrating my kids now more and more and more over the years
Yeah.
into
Which is
everything that
great.
I'm doing and
Yeah.
just kind of documenting it. But yeah.
Yeah. Which is amazing. So I got another question for you because you mentioned you joined SubTo with Pays kind of early on.
Hmm.
And I know we're kind of jumping up here, getting towards the end of the show here, but I'd like to know, was there a pivotal or specific mentor that you can think of that stands out in your mind that really helped you sort of change your trajectory and change your mindset around this whole entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, it's come in stages. Um, for the first couple years, it was pace.
Mm-hmm.
And then I needed to hammer down. I needed to build some different skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I went and hired Dan Martell as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot about increasing my standards
Mm-hmm.
and the way that I show up and changing the things that I'm willing to tolerate in my life in order to get to where I want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then this year I joined Owners Club. So I've kind of bounced back and forth between a handful of different mentors, each one around a specific skill set I was trying to learn, though. Like, I don't just go find a mentor and then just think that it's going to be a end all be all fix all.
Sure.
I think, you know, if there's a skill set that I need to learn, then that's kind of where I go to when I find, you know,
Sure.
I'll go find who's elevating and doing the thing at the level that I want to be doing
Yeah.
at the thing I want to be doing. So it
That
kind of
makes
varies.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's like you're in a certain, season in your business and your life, and you're looking for certain skill sets. You're going to go find the person that's already doing that, and you're going to learn pieces of it as you go along. I feel the same way. It's like maybe not one specific mentor, but all of them combined, and it's kind of happened in succession in
Hmm.
that way. I agree with that. So,
There's a lot of different mentors,
yeah,
even the people that don't necessarily label themselves as leaders or mentors or anything.
yeah,
They teach us so much, so many different things
Hmm.
about ourselves and the business and whatnot. I mean, I was just talking to James Ziegler earlier today. Him and I had like an hour and a half long
Mm.
conversation.
mhm,
Um, built it wasn't even around business. It was about mindset and our growth and the things that we've gone through in life and
Yeah.
how it pertains to how we're showing up now,
yeah,
in our business with the
Hmm.
people that we're with and in family and everything. um, I certainly didn't expect to find all of that when I found the real estate community.
mhm,
Mm.
Not at
Yeah.
all. Like here, I thought, okay, I'm going to learn how to provide for my family without going and being on someone else's time clock
mhm,
and, their expectations of what I should be doing and when and how much they're willing to pay me. This is a whole new thing. But instead, what I got out of it was mindset growth, right? Physical and mental and all of that growth,
mhm.
you know,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
it's mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
The communities that have been built, And Jesse, like you guys, your community has been a big part of that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second, 'cause I think that's a great segue. Let's talk about your mentorship. Let's talk about the growth code really quick. What got you to build that? What made you decide to start that mentorship?
In short, if I was going to summarize it in one sentence, it would be, actually, let me elaborate here. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of music. Been a big fan of music. I'm an 80s child. Anything from Madonna to Metallica, I'm all over it. Could not live without music. And I remember growing up, when I started playing guitar, I got really big into AC/DC and Metallica and Kiss and Van Halen. And it wasn't just the songs. It wasn't just the CDs and the vinyls and all that stuff. It was the stories behind them. Like I couldn't get enough of just learning about the bands and how did they come together? What was their origin story? And I remember reading an interview one time about the band Kiss. And the interviewer was interviewing Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, the two main founders of Kiss. And in short, I mean, this was back in the 70s, so the whole, the makeup and the costumes, the armor, the spikes, the blood that was coming out, the theatrics, the fire, the flames, the swords. Nobody had ever seen anything like this before. And so everybody's like, this is either awesome or this is extremely satanic.
Yeah.
Growing up, my mom always told me, dude, I grew up in an extreme Christian household. And she said, KISS was an acronym that stood for Knights in Satan's Service. You cannot listen to KISS in my house. And, but I was reading this interview and the interviewer was asking these guys, like, you guys are doing all these things. Like, where did you come up with this idea? Like, no one's ever seen anything like this before. And they both just kind of looked at each other and then looked at the interviewer and said, you know what? Because I think the interview was expecting this, like, hey, we jotted this down and we got this idea and then we did this and we built on this and we got these other ideas. And they just looked at each other and they said, you know what? We just built what we wanted to see if we were in the stands as fans of music. Like, what would we have wanted to experience? And that always resonated with me. So every relationship that I have, everything that I do as a father and as a husband, as a coach, as a friend, I try to do from the perspective of, if I was sitting in their shoes, like, what would I have wanted or needed? And obviously, as an entrepreneur, a big thing for me is ROI. That's why I'm a big advocate of, like, wholesale if you want to wholesale, but if you want to buy, let's just talk about buying. Like, skip the whole wholesaling process because it's all about ROI.
Yeah.
I wish somebody would have said to me, 99% of people that get into real estate because they want the Robert Kiyosaki thing. They want to own real estate because of the life that owning real estate provides.
Yes.
But 99% of the people that come in there are doing anything and everything but owning real estate because they're being told they have to do something a certain way. I wish that somebody would have said, Jesse, stop. You don't have to do this. You don't have to cold call. You don't have to do all these things. There's an easier way. There's a path of least resistance, I should say, not necessarily an easier way. There's a path of least resistance to getting the ROI that you're looking for, to getting the result that you're looking for. And these are the skill sets that you need to focus on. And so that was a big part of the conversation that I wasn't seeing anybody having. Nobody was saying that. Everybody was advocating, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this. And as I took enough action and failed, I started to learn that, you know what, I don't have to do this. I can't believe nobody's even talking about this. Like, why not? If this is the result that everybody wants, why is nobody advocating for this?
Yeah.
And so I created a community that, in short, like KISS, that I would have wanted to exist when I was getting started.
Love that.
Something that focuses on the path of least resistance, gives me the no bullshit. Here's the other thing. People come into real estate, they think it's a property that's going to change their life. Oh, let me invest in this property. Let me do this thing. Let me do this, yada, yada, yada. And that's the thing that's going to allow me to leave my W-2 or get to this next place. And it's not. What people don't realize, it has nothing to do with checking a box. That's another thing that most people think they need. It's a skill set. It's a freaking skill set.
Yeah.
And when the money that you want to make is directly correlated to nothing else other than the caliber of skill set that you bring to the marketplace.
Yeah.
So you have to focus on building that skill set. And so these are things that nobody told me. And so that's what I created. And there's the self-development side, because it's not enough just to give somebody the tactic and say, hey, go do this. Hey, go hire an operations manager. You know how much kickback I get when I tell people to go do that? Then they're like, Jesse, I don't have a business yet, and I don't have deals, and I don't have money, and I'm going to look like an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
I think we understand that part.
you can't be effective just by giving everybody a tactic, whether that tactic is go build an operations manager or go door knock.
Yeah.
Or go cold call, or whatever that tactic is. That's not enough. Now you have the mindset side of things. Now you have the self-development side of things. If IQ or strategy was the thing that people needed, which is ironic because they think that they need it. How many people have access to ChatGPT and AI right now? And they can, in 30 seconds, can have ChatGPT write them up a 90-day game plan to $1 million.
Yeah.
But they're not going to go do it. Well, why? It's because it's not the tactic and it's not the strategy. It's the type of person. It's the way they execute. It's the things they tolerate. And so you got to have both sides of those things. So in short, make a long story long, Justin. In one sentence.
I love it. Yeah.
That's it.
I love it. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, guys, by the way, for folks watching, we'll have Jesse's link to Jesse's mentorship and all of that in the description. So,
But let's not leave out before we have to end this, Jesse, where you have something coming up, an event coming up. And I want you to talk about it because I have been talking about the speaker competition that I was in, and that is part of your group. And the different events that have come about it, you know, from the speaker competition and what you're doing in Salt Lake. And I feel like it's all together, right? And a lot of it is building your mindset and your business. So I want to make sure you speak about that because I think it's very useful for many people out there who are still struggling.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. In short, again, like whether people are joining different mentorships and mentorship hopping and they're not getting the results, or they go to a lot of events, and a lot of events will focus on a lot of times a really specific thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to learn reps, or I'm going to learn cold calling, or I'm going to learn lease options, or I'm going to learn whatever it is, whatever the tactic is, right? And most people will jump in there and they get all hyped, and then they get there and then they leave and the hype dies and nothing literally changes. And so we can draw the conclusion that, okay, so it's not more information that you need. It's transformation that you need.
I agree. I think I'm one of those people.
Yeah, if you go back as the same person, then obviously you're going to do the exact same things. So the goal is to take the version of you 5 years from now and collapse that into a machine that transforms you into that person in 3 days. And so by definition, because you are a different person, and this isn't just me, like for anybody who's watching this now or in the future, go and watch the testimonials that have come out from people around this. Like we had people that had next to no experience in social media or raising capital that came out from our event 3 weeks ago, and they've raised $1 million in 2 weeks. Now think about that for a second. Like how different would your business be if you had access to $1 million right now?
Right.
So it's not just ChatGPT coming out with a 30-page freaking business plan or more information or a tactic that people need. It's transformation. And so we break down that 3-day experience, kind of similar to what the military does. The military can't just have people come into the military on day one and say, all right, guys, here are the rules and regulations. Follow them. Your hair's got to be this short and you start work at 0700. They can't just do that and expect everybody to just comply and just and still retain the title of world-class, world's greatest Air Force. And so there's a breakdown that has to happen. So we have basic training. What happens in basic training? They shave your head. You're no better than any other piece of crap that goes through there. And they break down your identity. They destroy who you are individually, but then the other half, they build you back up. They teach you to think about your accountability buddy, your battle buddy, as they call it, before yourself. They teach you about ethos. They teach you about culture. They teach you about the chain of command. They teach you about leadership. So so you literally graduate as somebody else. And when you take on that new identity, and that new identity is now engulfed in a culture that operates to a certain standard, you can't go below that standard. And so we did the same thing in Salt Lake. We broke everybody down, and everybody had such an like literally everybody, 100% of everybody in there had a breakdown, which led to a breakthrough. So when that happens, by definition, there's this new standard that's set where when you come home, you're not operating below that standard because everybody else that you went with won't let you. So this is the only event I've ever seen where the momentum not only stayed abundant, but it increased post-event.
Wow.
So it's been phenomenal. So yeah, if anybody wants more information on it, please shoot me a DM. It's September 19th, 20th, and 21st.
Yeah. Yeah. Shoot Jesse a DM,
Thank
message
you, guys.
myself, something. Yeah. I would, love to always support you, Jesse. And of course, for the people out there, like I said, you and Amber and Kevin and Carlin, all the people have been a huge, I don't even know the words. I don't have the words for how much you guys have helped me change my life. So appreciate
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you both so much. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be here. I appreciate you allowing me to have some of your time.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. So, and to respect your time too, because I'm sure, Jesse's a busy person. He's a busy person. So, for those who want to get a hold of you or want to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
The gram. Hit me up on the gram, Jesse R. Stanton on the gram or on Bookface. Would love to connect with you guys.
Awesome. And guys, we'll have Jesse's information in the description as well. Thank you so much, Jesse, for being here. This was a pleasure, and we need to do this again. I would love to. I've got so many more questions for you. We could spend another hour talking.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, but we definitely need to have you back on. And we'll drop the well, you can tell me how you feel about this, but I'd like to drop the event details in the chat or in the description as well, for folks who are interested.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and call it for today. I'm Justin. This is Pansy, Friends with Benefits podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Subscribe. Sorry, Pansy, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I just said thank you. Thank you for everyone that showed up. Thank you for Jesse. Thanks to you, Justin. Appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you, Pansy.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Yeah. We'll see you guys again soon. Thanks again. Subscribe, do the thing. Do the thing.